baby. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Matty Pace coming at you live from the Matty Mo Show, the host with the most mojo. And today, we are talking all about what I have learned so far from chasing my dreams. One of the main lessons that I have learned through chasing my dreams to become a full-time content creator is this: patience is a virtue. Patience is something that I thought I had before chasing my dreams. And I'll tell you, I was mistaken. I had a lot of tolerance, I would say that, but there's a difference between tolerance and having patience. And I'll tell you exactly why, because I saw this quote by Alex Hormozi that I'm about to share with you. That quote says, "You feel lost because you're not who you once were, but you're also not who you want to be yet. The middle is when the work matters most. You're not on the wrong path. You're just not done yet." Whew. And that right there sums up these past few years of doing what it is that I have been doing. And I have felt this so much to the point where I did start to question, am I doing the right thing? And that question in itself is a paradox, because the right thing, the wrong thing, you don't know what it is. But I can tell you this: if you have something deep within yourself, especially if it's been something you've had for years and you haven't chased it yet, I promise you that the worst thing that will happen so far, from what I have personally experienced, is that you may lose a lot of money. You may lose a lot of things. You may not really figure it out all at first, but that's part of the beauty of this journey of going out and trying to achieve something greater than you ever have before. You know, it's very easy, in my opinion, to get up and to go to a job that has security. Even if you're not making the amount of money that you want to make, you still have enough to somewhat live outside of your means while also taking care of the things you need to take care of, like your bills and maybe some family members. That to me is very easy to do. But what's not easy is getting up every day, going into the land of the unpredictable. And it's through going through the unpredictability of life that really starts, almost like if you've ever watched Forged in Fire, how it just, you know, they all start off with like a block of steel and they melt it down and they form it and they treat it and they turn it into this incredible weapon. It's exactly how I feel about going after my dreams. And I don't regret it for a moment, because one of my biggest fears in life was getting to the end of life, let's say, and looking back and having the regret, wondering what could have been. And had I not taken the leap of faith or been steered in the direction to take a leap of faith, to bet on myself and to do something I believe has more purpose for the world than it does just me, then I just don't know if I could have lived with myself having that lingering thought in my mind of, well, man, what if it happened? And, I think so many of us, we don't really believe that we can create this monumental success that we may envision or we may see out in mainstream media, social media. And it's just like, man, I don't even know. I've sunk every last dollar that I have into creating what I believe to be something of purpose, and I don't regret it. I don't regret any single moment of it. And it's one of those things where you never know if you're gonna be ready. You just kind of gotta start. I think that one of the best lessons that I've learned is, in order to get anywhere, you got to start somewhere. And as soon as you start taking steps in the direction you think you're supposed to be on, or what you're going towards, you begin to see the world a little bit differently. And that reflects back to that Alex Hormozi quote, where at this point, and especially if anyone out there has been chasing their dreams and trying to create something that you've never created before, or maybe no one in your family has created before, it can be a very lonely road. And there's no going back. There's no going back. That's the thing. It's once you get the taste of the life of going out on your own and really doing it and building it and utilizing every second, minute, and hour of every single day to feed and fuel your passion, you begin to realize just the 40-hour-a-week life isn't going to cut it anymore. Even if it's a struggle in what you're doing, it's so much more fulfilling knowing that you're working towards that moment, that all it takes is just that one moment for your whole life to change, for all that hard work you've been putting in, all that effort, all that belief, all that growth to really pay off. And in my own personal experience, it is, there's been a lot fewer of those big moments, and there's been a lot more of those strenuous moments. And some of the best times that I've had in my journey is just having fun and enjoying the process, and really just doing everything you can to consume yourself in the art of what it is that you're doing. Now, in my own personal experience of content creation, creating motivational videos to empower generations to come long after I'm gone, to be able to make people laugh, to feel good, to really believe in themselves a little bit more, that is what it's all about to me. And I found that you need to really know your why in order to continue to walk that path, and to have the how kind of start creating itself a little bit along the way. And if you're someone out there trying to control your way to success, it may work in business to an extent, but when you're branching out to do something a lot different than anyone else that you know, there's a lot of there's a lot of unknown. There's a lot of unknown, but it's through the unknown that you begin to get to the known, and where you really begin to get to know yourself. And I think one of the things that I've learned a lot about chasing my own dreams too is, you got to bring up a lot of things from the past that may have been getting in your way. Blockages, as a lot of people talk about, and manifestations and things like that. And I'm a firm believer in that, because you always reflect back to when a time was a lot easier, when you're in a time that's a lot harder. And what we overlook, and myself included, in the hard moments and the hard times is, the emotions that we feel in those times, they're not worthy of your attention, but maybe they're not worthy of the amount of time and energy you're pouring into how you feel, especially if it's not feeling too good, because how you feel tends to create more of, what you're experiencing within. And I'm a firm believer that, your emotions are not you. Your emotions are merely an extension of you. And if you can learn how to kind of separate yourself from the emotions you feel at times, the better and a little bit more smoother the path will be in order to achieve and to get to where you want to get and to do what you want to do. And through all these levels that I've learned is really going a lot deeper within and constantly revisiting the drawing board, making sure that what I'm working towards is still aligned with me and not just become another habit, like going to a job at a certain time week in and week out and having a schedule. You really got to revisit the drawing board every now and again and once in a while, and ask yourself, is this still aligning with me? Is this still what I want to do? Is this still what I'm going after? Is the purpose the same? Is the drive the same? Is the goal the same? Is this still where I'm at? And if the answer is no, then you got to sit down and you got to figure out why that is. And once you can, work through the why and, really be open and honest with yourself, which is for a lot of people one of the most difficult things to do, you'll start to uncover some things. And just like a snake sheds its skin, just like a butterfly comes from a caterpillar in a cocoon, you gotta feed that, you gotta go through that, you gotta de-shed, you gotta get that new skin on, and you gotta keep plugging away. And I think it's a beautiful thing not knowing when it's going to happen, but if you can convince yourself that it's always happening in the moment, just because you can't see it in your physical reality does not mean that it's not happening behind closed doors. Because I think a lot of times we don't see the benefits to our action until a lot further down the road. It's just like going to the gym. If you stay consistent for 3 months, you'll start to see the results of those 3 months in the 4th, 5th, and 6th months. And it's just your body finally catching up to things, and your body needs time to grow, much like your mind needs time to grow, much like your dreams need room and time to grow, flourish, and to blossom so you can see it. But just because you're not seeing it in the now doesn't mean that it's not happening, And I think that's the thing, back to the patience, is having that patience and staying on that course and understanding that it's all a part of the process, the struggle and the strenuous moments, and maybe a little bit of the doubt and the fears and the anxiety and things like that. But it's not everything. It's just a part of it, because on the other side of all that stuff, you have its counterpart. When you feel like maybe you're not doing enough, maybe you are doing more than enough, but you just feel like you're not because you're not seeing immediate results. And like we said, everything takes time. Nothing happens overnight. It happens over time until that moment where bang, all of a sudden it happens. And it may seem like overnight, but to the person that's been putting in the work, you're like, nah, that took a lot of time, my man. You know what I'm saying? And that's the beautiful thing about life. And I think anyone out there that's still listening, I want to say, if you're on this road or on this path, or you're thinking about getting on this path of chasing your dreams and developing and creating something a little bit greater than yourself, my question is, why not? Why wouldn't you? Why would you keep waiting? I know security is in the back of everybody's mind. You never know what could happen, but I mean, man, it's just, at least give yourself the chance. At least give yourself the honest opportunity. If you want to set a time limit to where, hey, listen, I got X amount of dollars saved up. If I'm not where I want to be by the time I hit this dollar amount, then I'm going to go back and I'm going to do something else. There's no shame in that. But if you're only weighing your decisions based on things like that, then maybe what you're trying to convince yourself is your purpose really isn't your purpose. It's just a different route in the journey that you're currently on. So my thoughts, my opinions, my reflection of chasing your dreams is, no, it is not easy, but it is worth it. 2, if you do this, you got to be prepared to take all the good with all the not so good and to be patient. And 3, you always got to believe in yourself, because sometimes you're going to be the only person that does believe in you. And I do believe that who we surround ourselves with definitely plays a big role in how far we go and everything, and how we develop and how we get to that next level. But you also got to remember that you got to be your own biggest fan, and you've got to celebrate yourself. You got to celebrate your small wins and your small achievements, much like you would your big ones. When you experience failure, you can't let it hit home too hard. You gotta, take it, you gotta feel it, assess it, and then you gotta let it go, and then you gotta keep walking the path, because like any great person will tell you, it's not always about how you handle your wins that defines a champion. It's how you handle the losses and the setbacks that determines who you become. So to anyone out there questioning on if you should chase your dreams, my question is, why not? You can keep doing what you're doing, and you know exactly what you're going to get 20, 30, 40 years down the road. But I think a lot of people want to take that leap because there's a small part of them that's like, well, what if this happens? And you know what if it happens? What if it goes according to your plan and then even bigger than your plan? What if what you thought you wanted and you just branch out and you start walking the path ends up leading you to a different path that you never even thought about, but you end up becoming so passionately in love with that now that's your new thing, and that's the thing, man. The journey is the destination. Nobody gets out of life alive, and I think that while we're here, we got to fuel our creativity, we got to fuel our passion, we got to fuel our belief, and we got to fuel our thirst for imperfection, because man, if you always wait until you're ready, you're never going to get ready. If you always try to achieve perfection, you're never going to achieve it. And you don't have to be perfect. There's people out there that are making it in this world that don't even have half the creative skill as you do, but maybe you're allowing your creative skill to get in the way and be more of a roadblock than an outlet. You know what I mean? So don't get so caught up on the little subtle nuances of certain things. Instead, just give your all, give your passion, give your love, let it breathe, give your spirit, give it to yourself, and give it to the world. You never know what could happen. At any given moment, your whole life could change. So just keep walking that path. And if you're somebody still teetering on that, should I do it? Should I just stay here? I don't know. I got it made really good right now. I don't know if I want to lose it all. Man, just give yourself the opportunity. Maybe start walking, take baby steps. You know what I mean? And figure it out. Start at part-time even. That's the beauty of this life. You have so many opportunities to be able to create things in a million different ways. You don't have to get too caught up on just one avenue or one way. So give yourself the opportunity to see what you're made of. Give yourself the opportunity to see if you can really do it. And maybe you'll be just like me, where you kind of find that middle ground where you're like, you know what? Yeah, I may not be where I want to be, but I'm where I'm supposed to be. And I am loving the journey. Every single up, every single down, every single setback, every single forward movement. You never know, because at the end of the day, we're not not going to wake up at one day. You know, at one point, we're not going to be here anymore. So while you're here, be here. Give yourself the opportunity. I know I'm rambling and ranting, but it's just something that I needed to get out of me personally. So I hope it helps somebody out there. Thank you so much for your time. And this is just a snippet of what I've been experiencing through chasing my dreams, man. So I hope this helps you out there. Thank you so much for your time. And always remember, be who you are, do what you love what you do, and always, always, always be you, baby. You got this. You got this. You can do this. Go out and get it, baby. Let's go.